Political personalism. Our human ideal and our view of life or Weltanschauung differs in crucial parts from our opponents, and this also has implications for our social or societal philosophy. But before anything else, I would like to remind the aware listener that my videos aren't always ideological recommendations from my side, unless I make it obvious that they are. Many times my videos are created to make you aware of something you possibly weren't aware of prior to my video. That is, at times, the simple and sole purpose of my videos is to make you aware of something you weren't aware of before. Personalism or individualism. Our opponents, and it does not matter if they are conservatives or liberals, has the individual as a building block in their view of society. This individual is a strange phenomenon, because an individual is a human being from which we have stripped away all that distinguishes him from other humans. The individual is what's left when you remove the nationality, the sex, the religion, the race, the personality, the opinions, etc. On this strange social atom and its rights, the conservatives and the social democrats are attempting to base their social thoughts, concerns, and its community building. Against this, we use that which is called personalism. This is instead based on the really existing persons and their interests and potentials. In Oscar Wilde's words, quote, "The aim of life is self-development, to realize one's nature perfectly. That is what each of us is here for." End quote. Personalism is based on that we all have a potential, a nature, something that is us and which we can achieve more or less well. The idea lies close to the Christian social philosophy, and that is also why several Christian political branches is based on personalism. They have tried to create communities where people have had as good opportunities as possible to realize their personalities, and has also been aware that the man is a social being. Personalism can be called anti-egalitarian, since people are different, have different potentials, and want different things. Shared by all persons, however, is the value for the human life, which personalism has inherited from its Christian source. Capitalism and personalism. The relationship between capitalism and personalism is a complex one. On the one hand, individuals are constantly exposed to a potential threat from the state. The state may, in unfavorable situations, develop totalitarian traits and set very strict rules on what the person can and cannot do. The artist is prohibited to create, the author is forbidden to think, or the state simply denies providing them with financial means as soon as their actions or thoughts do not please those in power. Remember, listeners, this can strike both ways, both against us traditionalists and our artists and authors, which currently is our reality, as well as against the modernists, which is the future they ironically fear. This means that capitalism and market economy has a liberating aspect. They can be a protection for the person against a state that is too intervening. The problem lies in that capitalism is also a class society. Those who are poor have limited opportunities to realize their personality. The person that lack money also lack freedom and autonomy. In a situation of high unemployment, a person can be forced to abdicate all its influence over their work situation, just to get a job. Many people can end up in a situation where they do not have influence over neither their lives, money, or a social context. National syndicalism as an alternative. A society that is built on the foundation of personalism must therefore provide their citizens with a number of things. First, they must have a job that they can make their living off of, and whose earnings allow them to develop their personalities. Then they must also have influence over this process so that they aren't reduced to zombies, but that they instead become involved in the process. Then they must be included in a social context. A common solution to these problems is corporatism, where workers and employers' organizations together with the state controls the economy. The problem is that corporatism can easily become quite totalitarian and impersonal, this one as well. This is where anarchism and subsidiarity principle comes into the picture. Anarchism can be seen as a quest for personal autonomy as much as an ideology, and an attempt to organize society from the bottom up through voluntary cooperation. The principle of subsidiarity is taken from Christian social philosophy as well, and is based on that power should be as close to the citizens as possible. Some decisions are best made in the family, others in the community, others in the local religious association, and so forth. When you combine corporatism, anarchism, and subsidiarity, one will get something that best can be called national syndicalism. It's about a nation-state where much of the decision-making is taken at the local level, and where only the most necessary decisions are made by the small state which still is needed. It is also about a state where the respect for the individual's choice permeates society. Multicultural or monocultural. There is also a latent conflict between personalism and multiculturalism. The nationality is a part of the person. These are characteristics we share with others of our kind. Whether these properties are rooted in biology or culture is irrelevant in this context. This means that our ability to realize our personality is the greatest in an ethnically homogeneous society, which is built around our social and cultural nature. People with similar interests get along much better, there are less conflicts and compromises, and the society reflects you significantly more, to mention a few reasons. I would here like to refer you to watch my Culture Hero videos, which add some additional arguments to the subject. This of course does not mean that the person's development is threatened by limited multiculturalism. I take no harm in watching a Japanese movie any more than I am harmed by the presence of a small gypsy or Sami minority in Sweden, as long as it stays small, or that the neighbor's kid is adopted from Sri Lanka. Problems arise only when multiculturalism becomes extensive and becomes so dominant that one can speak about a multicultural society. This leads to constant conflicts between the different cultures, insecurity about one's own culture, rivalries, and the like. Instead of, in peace, being able to develop one's personality and one's culture in a solidarity-based environment, one is instead forced to put one's energy on inter-ethnic group conflicts. The differentiated person does not have these problems necessarily, but for the less differentiated folk, they are a serious matter. This means that there is something positive in a society that is ethnically homogeneous, and that the repatriation and or assimilation is something that each person must consider. Final words. Personalism as opposed to individualism. I would like to end with Emmanuel Monnoier's words on the subject of personalism as contrasted against individualism. Quote, "Individualism is a system of morals, feelings, ideas, and institutions in which individuals can be organized by their mutual isolation and defense. This was the ideology and the prevailing structure of Western bourgeoisie society in the 18th and 19th centuries. Man in the abstract, unattached to any natural community, the sovereign lord of a liberty unlimited and undirected, turning towards others with a primary mistrust, calculation, and self-vindication, institutions restricted to the assurance that these egoisms should not encroach upon one another or to their betterment as a purely profit-making association. Such is the rule of civilization now breaking up before our eyes, one of the poorest history has known. It is the very antithesis of personalism and its dearest enemy.